Okay, I'm gonna need someone to say something, so I know that I can hear you, and I see smiles, so I think that you can hear me.
Hey, Gina.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
everyone.
All right.
Gina.
Good morning.
Good morning, Gina.
Since we haven't, officially started and it's just us, I noticed on the agenda there was some things at the end. Are those actual presentations we're gonna hear today?
Yes.
The
Yes, I got them up right here. We've got the,
Singapore.
yep. And
Good, cool.
on the Safe Streets from Vic. Yeah.
Awesome. It's all good news. Cool. Thank you. I'm assuming Bob will be here, but I'm always, on the ready.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not even vice chair anymore. That's right. Who else? Who's the vice chair?
Emily Hinsdale.
Oh my gosh, I just saw her this morning. She did a walk to school where my grandson goes to school.
Right.
So yeah, so I saw her this morning and she sent me a picture of the kids,
That's cool.
which as any grandmother would do, I'm probably going to show you because our meeting hasn't started yet.
Yes, all grandchildren pictures are appreciated.
I got a new one January 31st. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Wait, I didn't hear that. So what did somebody say?
I got a new grandbaby January 31st.
All right.
So there's no sleeping in my house, if anybody's curious. You're very muffled, Shirley. I can barely understand what you're saying.
Hi, Bob.
Hey.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Hey, Eric. Hey, Eric.
Hey, good morning, Bob.
Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you chair this morning? I just got called into a railroad crossing meeting. Okay.
Yeah, sure, no problem. If
Okay.
Emily can't make it, I sure will.
Okay,
Bob,
great.
Bob,
Yeah.
before you go, we can't really present on the 4 stops because we're waiting for, as Mike said to Emmett, we're waiting for a warrant study.
For what?
So,
For
a
what?
warrant study. So just wanted to let you know.
No, go repeat what you just. I didn't hear initially what you said. What did you say?
Okay, we were going to make a quick presentation about the 4-way stop and the stop signs that DOT is accommodating for Hillsborough County to have through HSIP application. But anyway, long story short, maybe just talk to Mike because Emmett and Mike talked this morning.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Lashit, are you talking about the one in Plant City?
Yes. We were
okay, so that's not a 4-way stop. It's just replacing the existing stop signs with the flashing stop sign.
Flashing stop signs,
They're not all way in the intersection. It's just replacing what's already there.
Yeah, I don't know the details. I think Mike and Emmett talked this morning, so I was going to talk about it maybe and ask you to talk about it, but we'll wait for another meeting. But they're working on it.
We'll just set up a Teams meeting today, and we set one up with Mike, and we can talk about it today. So.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Afternoon,
so
please.
much.
Okay. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. Okay. Got it.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right, Eric. Emily is on, FYI.
Hey, good morning, Emily. I think you missed that, but Bob has to drop off for another meeting. So if you want to run the meeting, you can, or I can, whichever way.
I can do that. That's fine.
Wonderful. I'll turn it over to you then.
Okay, shall we start with introductions? I'm Emily Hinsdale with Sidewalk Stompers.
Can we go down the list, Emily? Like I normally do?
Yes, can you please go ahead and do that?
Sure. So hey everybody, I'm Melissa Shepard with JMT and FDOT Safety Consultant. Just to let you know, this meeting is being recorded and I'll start going through the list. So we have Lama.
Hi, morning everyone. Lama Al-Fassi with Hillsborough County.
Thank you. Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah Bersheim with JMT.
Thank you. Brenton Mosher.
Brenton Mosher with USF Qatar.
Lindsay.
Hi, this is Lindsay with AAA.
Thank you. Corporal Kraus.
Corporal Desiree Kraus. I'm with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in District 4.
Thank you. Swara.
Hi, this is Swara Farheen. I'm Atkins here in Tampa.
Thank you. Abigail.
Good morning, Abigail Flores, the Safety Program Manager for Hillsborough County.
Thank you. Fred Baxter. All right, well, Fred is on and he's with the City of Plant City. Gina Torres.
Morning, Gina Torres, the Hillsborough TPO.
Thank you. Michelle Harris.
Hi there, Michelle Harris at AAA.
Thank you. It looks like Demetrius. All right, well, he is on the phone. Helen Baker.
Hi, I'm Helen. I'm the new Trauma Injury Prevention Outreach Coordinator for Tampa General.
Thank you. Eric Henry.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Eric Henry with FDOT District 7, your CTST Program Manager.
Thank you. James Snell.
Hey, this is Jim Snell, Tampa Police Traffic Squad.
Thank you. Jeanette. All right, Jennifer Hall.
Good morning, everyone. Jennifer Hall with Nations Traffic Safety School.
Thank you. Jim Reiser.
Morning, everybody. Jim Reiser, Gresham Smith, one of the D7 safety consultants.
Thank you. Keith Pippin.
Yeah, hi, Captain Keith Pippin with USFPD.
Thank you. Don Lewis. All right, well, Don is on. Mashid.
Good morning, Mashid Araste, American Quality Consultants, FDOT Safety Ambassador.
Thank you. Brian McCarthy.
Hey, good morning. Brian McCarthy, City of Temple Terrace Engineering.
Thank you. Melinda.
Hi, Melinda Nelson, HCSO Grants Research and Development Unit.
Thank you. Melissa Kinchlow. All right, well, Melissa is on the line. John Marine. All right, well, John is on the call as well. Mike White.
Mike White, Sergeant out of District 3 with Tampa Police Department.
Thanks, sir. Nick Ennis.
Hi, good morning. Nick Ennis with Element Engineering Group, FDOT Safety Consultant.
Thank you. Lori Paleo.
Hello, everyone. Lori Paleo with JMT.
Paula Jones.
Good morning, Paula Jones with Hillsborough County Schools Transportation Department.
Thank you. Shirley.
Shirley Reddy, Hillsborough County Schools Traffic Safety Specialist.
Thank you. Susan.
Hey, good morning. Susan Boda with Benish.
Thank you. Megan.
Good morning, Megan Tetra with Hillsborough County Safety and Mobility.
All right. Vanessa.
Good morning, Vanessa with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, Grants Research and Development Unit.
All right. Vic.
Hi, good morning. Vic B-Day with the City of Tampa Mobility.
All right, awesome. So I think that was all of the names that I see. If I did not call your name, please feel free to introduce yourself to the group. Oh, let's see. I have a chat in. And Ann Blevins from, with the Children's Hospital at TGH. Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, awesome.
Okay, let's go ahead with approval of the minutes. Has anybody had a chance to read them? And I would hear a motion to approve them.
This is Jim Reiser, Gresham Smith. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Gina.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Let's move on to our updates. Pedestrian, bicycle, motorcycle safety updates.
Hey, Emily. It's Melissa.
Yeah.
Due to a scheduling conflict, is there any way that we could move this presentation
Yeah, of course.
before the updates, because Vic
Great.
has a hard stop?
Yes, so we're looking at the Safe Streets for All grant presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so yes, let's go ahead and move that. Vic, take it away.
First, thank you so much, CTST. I mean, all the stuff that you do for this region over the years has made tremendous progress, and appreciate all of your efforts. And it's great to see everyone come together. And thank you for accommodating my schedule. I appreciate that as well. I'm going to speak on the cities and your grants. So plural, 2 different grants, Safe Streets for All, that the city received that are going to bring some much needed safety improvements to this area. And it was thanks to all of you and your advocacy and TPD, our consultant community, and then the mayor, of course, who spends a lot of time in DC looking for funding and support from the current administration. And we've had some success with that. So I'm just going to start by saying that, this grant itself, the program, was possible thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law. As you all are familiar, it's a significant appropriation of funds that is directed towards all kinds of transportation projects. But this particular program is a much needed carve out targeted towards cities and their priorities, outside of the standard formula, if you will, where federal funds flow through the state systems and the TPOs, and invariably have kind of preset or predetermined homes for them. So the whole idea is behind this grant program to get fast results on the ground for specific priorities that may not hit certain state and federal criteria. With that in mind, our first grant that was awarded in 22 was a larger grant. It was a $20 million grant for various safety projects throughout the city. And I'd like to also, along with the city, congratulate the county, because the county won $19 million, an equal amount, for similar projects, of which at least 2 projects are within city limits, Columbus and Armenia, respectively. So this is a huge win for the region, a huge partnership. And it all really began and was possible because there are two types of Safe Streets for All grants. One's a planning grant, and then the other is an implementation grant. And these are implementation grants. They're larger, and they're given to organizations that have done their planning, that know what their priorities are. And which is where, again, tremendous kudos to the TPO for leading with a Vision Zero program, years before any of us, actually started retooling our manuals and kind of started focusing on implementation. So Gina, thank you for the love, right back at you. It's really, if the TPO hadn't started this, we wouldn't have developed, our Vision Zero programs. The mayor wouldn't have announced that Tampa is now a Vision Zero city. We wouldn't develop a Vision Zero action plan and a plan, which of course begins with the high injury network. So we know what our challenges are. They're well defined. They're prioritized by local leaders. And I think that went a long way towards receiving these grants. It's also a big part of why we've been successful is the feds see how committed local leadership is. So the gist of these grants are a slew of redesign projects. Existing roadways where we know that there are safety concerns, there are crashes, particularly to pedestrians, bicyclists, but also to motorists. These are projects that are on our high injury network. And that first grant, the $20 million dollar grant, really focuses on 4 really critical areas within the city, and our TPD partners will likely be familiar, as will our planning agencies. These are all in communities of concern. So zip codes 33605, 33607, and 33603, and then the Sulphur Springs area as well. So that's where a lot of these grants are focused on. Everything from 15th Street, 21st Street, Hannah Avenue, Columbus, Lake Avenue, Main Street, you name it. All of these areas have lower car ownership, extremely high childhood poverty, tremendous challenges with access to jobs as well as food and recreation. So quality of life at every aspect being impacted by a less than ideal or unsafe transportation system. So all this to say that this grant delivers a lot of impact. In terms of this grant, the status is we're still working through the feds on the cooperative agreement so that we can then advertise for the services we need to execute a lot of the design and construction as part of this grant. That's typical because the bipartisan infrastructure law appropriated, almost $2 trillion. And that money is being disbursed nationwide. So DC and their regional offices for federal highway are really stressed with trying to process all of these. Each of these grants is a legal agreement that goes to their OGC or legal to review and then gets processed by local agencies. So that's where we're at. I believe the county is also there. I'll let Abigail kind of touch upon that. And Abigail, think of this as our presentation. So if you wanted to jump on it, because the county won a similar grant as well. Most of this project or most of these projects, what will they do? They will first and foremost distribute space that was mostly allocated to vehicles to balance it out a little bit better between pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. By design, they will address high conflict areas within the corridors and attempt using design to change driver behavior. And then, of course, it's up to the community. It's up to you all to then take it, to the other E's, if you will, to the extent the E's are still a thing. And it's now 4 E's, I think. A lot of this is going to be more quick build type projects. As we all know, $20 million doesn't really go very far nowadays. what we're thinking about is a FDOT push button type contract, which is design build, but with way fewer line items so that we're more cost and scope competitive. Otherwise, the risk starts adding up and that increases the cost. So that's the general thought towards execution of these grants and these corridors. Again, they were born from our high injury network. And the business case for the feds was that we've done our planning. We know what our problem is. We are one of the least safe regions, and it seems like the leadership in the area is coalescing around prioritizing these kind of projects. So that was the first grant. The second grant, which was last year in 2023, was, and again, this was conception, Eric, of your brother, Alex Henry, working with Qatar. And it was literally a 3-day exercise where Jason, Alex, and I kind of had a conversation. What can we do with this? Earlier, we were speaking with UCF about it, but I'm glad it kind of, we brought it home, so to speak. And it's a planning grant, but it's a planning grant for speed management. So testing different speed management strategies. Again, the focus is where our highest crashes are, our high injury network, and that tends to correlate with communities of concern. And so the 4 areas that we're looking at are 34th Street, between 19th and Adamo, Palm Avenue, kind of west of 21st Street, Sly Avenue up by the zoo between, or actually east of 275, and then Rolette Park Drive. All of these corridors have speeding challenges, and then they all have either schools or parks and food, or all 3 along these corridors. So from an access and safety standpoint, again, our attempt is going to be to work with the experts at Qatar to implement different types of speed management strategies, to study how they work and have that inform the city's quick build efforts going forward. So it's more a combination of implementation and research/evaluation, if you will. And that's a $2.6 million grant, slightly smaller, but we'll take all the resources we can get. And at this time, I'll be happy to address any questions. Cool. No questions. Clearly, we've got an expert group out here, and you all know more about this field than most in the region. But again, I can't thank you all enough for your support from whatever vantage point you are participating in this meeting.
Vic, this is Abigail. I have a question.
Sure.
So the demonstration projects, are those in different areas than the implementation projects?
They are not. Some of them are in similar zip codes, but again, the reason for that is they're all derived from the high injury network, and we're literally either, whether it's our mobility plan or our Vision Zero action plan, we're working through our priorities on down. So unfortunately, as you're likely familiar, a lot of our challenges relative to safety are concentrated in areas of low car ownership, which also have other challenges going on around them. But good question.
So will the demonstration projects inform the implementation projects in any way?
They will, because we feel like the demonstration projects will likely wrap up a little sooner. However, we don't know which of the cooperative agreements will get executed first. So there's a timeline issue, but either way, it will inform our direction going forward. And if we learn anything from the demonstration projects, given that that grant came later, we will definitely incorporate that as part of our implementation projects.
All right, thanks.
Sure. Great question, though.
Vic, this is Emily. If I could just sort of pass on a message from the advocacy community, I think as these agreements are executed and you get going on a lot of these projects, I think there are a lot of people in the community who would like to hear, yes, I guess get report cards on how they are going. And not everybody is going to go to all of these roads in their regular day-to-day business, but would like to know what projects are going forward. So if that's something that the city could look at, and actually I'll say the same to Abigail, I know that's something the advocacy community is concerned about, that, when this is put into place, what do we see? How is it working?
Good point. And we could, if this is the right forum for it, also have an agenda item to provide updates through the construction, implementation, and evaluation.
I think that would be great.
Cool.
I think maybe as the agreements get executed, if you could reach out to this team about when you could come back and take a look at that.
Sure. And just, I think all of our social media channels and all our communications folks try to do a really good job of kind of getting out on socials. So to the extent any of you follow City of Tampa, either on Instagram, Facebook, all the other outlets out there, TikTok, there are updates there as well.
Gina, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in more of a global scale than specific projects. And Emily, I think you brought this up at one of our committee meetings. Our board and committees are really interested in seeing the effectiveness of some of these things that are happening now. This is new stuff, but like before and afters. So we're really going to probably spend a little time this coming year both doing some specific before and afters on corridors that have been transformed. And what I'm talking about is like speed reduction, crash reduction, but still travel time that it's, that is still helpful for the public. And also a kind of a progress report globally on Vision Zero and how things are going. So both on specific corridors and then like a bigger study. And it'll be really fun because it helps us like justify all the funding that we're going to be requesting. If this is really working, then, more likely that we'll have, more funding coming. So that's something we're going to work on this year.
I think that's a great point, Gina. And yes, we're happy to do that. We will need to partner, and I'm looking at either the DOT ambassadors or Eric directly at you on kind of resources for evaluation once these projects are done, because it is valuable to make the point. On travel time specifically, I like to be a little cautious, only because travel time is really considering what the O and the D are and not just that facility. And most of the travel time impacts are typically at the large intersections. And so to the extent those intersections and their operations are kind of considered, what happens along the segments is really not as much of a concern on travel time for vehicles. As far as travel time for pedestrians and cyclists, I have no doubt that it will get better through these projects because there will be facilities that don't exist today for them. So.
Great. Were there any other questions for Vic?
All right. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate you making time for me, and we'll make sure we incorporate those updates, Emily. And hopefully our team is working with you on additional safety murals and that kind of stuff. All right.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Melissa, it looks like we have two other presentations. Do we want to continue with those or move back into the updates?
So Lori will be giving a presentation on the Signal 4 database. Mine is just a little update to the group. So mine will take like maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Lori's a couple of minutes. So it's up to you, however you want to do this, but we could definitely go into her presentation now if she's ready.
Lori, would you like to do it now or later?
Oh, I was muted. I could do it now. Let me just set it up 1 second.
That's great. Thank you.
And maybe while she's getting ready, I can just go ahead and give you guys the Safe Streets for All grant update. So the other day, I believe it was maybe Friday, they opened the application period for the new grant cycle, which is great. So we are putting together another e-blast for that. So that'll be coming out maybe later this week. But just to give you guys some updates, there are 3 deadlines for the grants this time. So like Vic was saying, there's 2 different grants, the planning and demonstration grants, and then the actual implementation grants. So there are 3 deadlines for the planning and demonstration grants. There's April 4th, May 16th, and August 29th. And then for the implementation grants, there is 1 deadline, May 16th. And then come August 29th, it closes. So we have several, like if you've been preparing for this and you have your items ready, you could definitely submit on the 4th of April, or you could wait till the 16th of May. But as of August 29th, it's closed until the 2025. So there is that. Let's see, they have a bunch of great resources, a lot of useful webinars that are coming up. I'm going to put that in the e-blast, but I can give you guys just an overview. So there's 3 of them coming up, actually 2 next week. March 7th is the goes over the action plans. So this webinar will actually speak about the general overview of it, of the program, and particularly focusing on the action plan that you have to submit for the grant. And then on the 8th of March is the supplemental planning and demonstration. So this webinar, they say will offer a general overview of the grant application process with a particular focus on applying for funding for supplemental planning and demonstration activities. Then on the 13th, there's a webinar on the implementation grant. So this will talk about how to apply for the implementation grant and the process for that avenue. So that will all be in the e-blast that I'm working on. If you would like, while Lori is speaking, I can definitely put some links in the chats for you guys, just in case you are interested in any of those webinars. But I see Lori's ready to go, so I will stop talking and turn it over to her.
Thank you, Melissa. Does everyone see my screen? And can you hear me? Everything good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Lori Palayo. I am a traffic engineer at JMT, and today I will be discussing Signal 4 Analytics database. So here's the agenda with a quick overview of the power of Signal 4 to answer your questions on what Signal 4 is, how it works, its limitations, and your crash data responsibility. What is Signal 4? Signal 4 was developed and it is hosted at the University of Florida's GeoPlan Center, and it integrates crash data through an interactive web-based platform. Signal 4 creates both spatial and non-spatial data downloads for users. Spatial data is when you download a geodatabase from Signal 4 Analytics and you input it into GIS, also known as a Geographic Information System, to map crash data based on their longitude and latitude values to form relations in the crash data. Non-spatial data is when you download a CSV file to create tables in Excel to analyze the crash data. Signal 4 supports the crash mapping and analysis needs of various stakeholders from the 4 E's, including education, engineering, enforcement, and emergency medical services to improve safety in Florida. Crash data used for. Crash data supports all aspects of traffic operations, and crash data is the foundation for every type of study. Some of the studies you could see listed here on the screen, I will go over a couple of them. So for example, your benefit cost calculations. FDOT's website has a benefit cost analysis spreadsheet tool. Benefit occurs when the number of crashes is reduced or the severity of the crashes is reduced because of the transportation improvement. So you use these crash modification factors along with Signal 4 Analytics crash data to perform a benefit cost analysis. So this is one way you could use Signal 4 Analytics for your safety needs. Another one is a roadway safety audit. Roadway safety audits are a formal safety performance examination of an existing or future road or intersection by an independent multidisciplinary team. So you have to look at crashes when developing recommendations for your roadway safety audit. You look at the segments in the corridor and download the crashes. Data come from. The major data source for Signal 4 is the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles.
نرس گفتم که اگه میتونه بهمون بده.
Oh, sorry. The major data source for Signal 4 is the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, known as the FHSMV, for crash data, and the Florida Clerk Comptrollers for citation data. Signal 4 reporting tool does not provide any direct access to the citation data, and this is planned for future iterations, but is not something that is currently within Signal 4. In addition, Signal 4 maintains some crash data elements that are derived from the FHSMV data elements to enhance the crash data. So how does Signal 4 work? There's a public dashboard if you go to signal4analytics.com that does not require a login account. On the top on the black bar, you will see a bunch of filters, and the public dashboard allows for limited filtering of the aggregated crash data. What that means is there's fatalities and serious injuries, but you do not have all severity crash types in this public dashboard, but there is still a lot of useful information in here for you. You could filter by year. By law, crash data is confidential for 60 days after a crash report is filed. So the data available in the public dashboard will always lag for about 70 days. The reason it's 70 days is because there's 10 days that law enforcement is allowed to complete and file an initial crash report, plus another 60 days due to confidentiality due to the Senate bill, which I'll go into further detail later. You could also filter by state, county, district, MPO, or city. You could filter by law enforcement agency. So say you wanted to know the fatalities and serious injuries within Pinellas Park PD's jurisdiction, you could filter by that. You could also filter by emphasis area. Emphasis areas were developed from the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. It is a statewide data-driven safety plan for all of Florida road users. And it's a state's 5-year plan for achieving Florida's vision of zero traffic-related fatalities. So the Strategic Highway Safety Plan includes 13 emphasis areas that guide Florida's safety efforts, and it is listed on this graph on the left. So some of them include like work zones, ped bike intersections. So you could see fatality and serious injury data that way. And then afterwards, it's going to output the different graphs. So you could see the emphasis areas, you could see the annual bar graph. But remember, due to the 70 days of the lag, when you're making comparisons, for example, between 2022 and 2023, keep in mind that there is still some lag due to the 70 days. You could filter by the monthly line graph. You could look at the heat map showing the dense concentrations, age group, day of week, and hours of day. So there's a lot of useful information in here for you on the public dashboard. But if you want additional crash data features more than just fatalities and serious injuries, you could request a Signal 4 account. Signal 4 is a very powerful tool, and there's a lot of features available for you. So you could request a new account or get help with an existing account. You request a new account if you never had a Signal 4 account in the past, or help with an existing account if your account expired or isn't active. So you could do that. So for the request new account, there are 5 different options available. If you select the first, public agency employee, or the second, public agency PM requesting for a consultant, it opens a request form appropriate to the request type for the employee or the consultant, as you can see on the right here. If you select the third or the fourth, it presents the message that the requester must work through a governmental agency to be granted the access, that the appropriate project manager from that agency should initiate the request. And then if you select the fifth option, the press, citizen, or other, it presents the message that access is limited to governmental agencies and their employees and contractors. So to access this form, you go to the top right-hand corner of the public dashboard, click the people icon and request an account, or you could go to the bottom link here and it'll direct you directly to the form. It is important to note that local agencies must request Signal 4 access directly from the Signal 4 website, and approval will come from Signal 4 Analytics, not the Department of Transportation, so everything is done within Signal 4. So once you get account access, you are ready to perform your data-driven analyses. So data-driven analyses, you could do spot reviews, corridor analyses, and systematic studies with the data in Signal 4 Analytics. So when you go to the dashboard, you're going to see a lot of different drop-down options. You could filter by date, geographic boundary, street or intersection, and then there's a bunch of other drop-downs and circumstances, participants and vehicles. Some of those drop-downs include crash severity, lighting condition, whether or not they're wearing a helmet, whether or not they're driving a commercial motor vehicle or wearing a seatbelt. So there's a lot of different queries available to you. I'm going to go over some of the queries on Signal 4, but not all of them, as there's a lot of different ways you could filter the data to get what you're looking for. So to do that, I'm going to do a real world example. Pretend you receive a call from a citizen about the safety of an intersection on Morrisbridge Road and State Road 54. There are different ways to query the crash data to look into this request. So first, you could use the DOT roadway selection tool, where you could input roadway ID and milepost. This tool doesn't select side streets, and it only selects the FDOT roadway mainline. A possible con to this, the side streets could be important for capturing angle crashes or left turn crashes. You may want to know the crashes on Morrisbridge Road and not only on State Road 54. So if you want to get the crashes on Morrisbridge Road as well, you could do the intersection selection tool. You could type in on the map or zoom in and click on the map, the intersection, and it allows you to get both the main line and the intersecting street of the crashes on both Morrisbridge Road and State Road 54. You could use offset distances if you want to capture more area, including crashes at the left turn lane, stuff like that. So you could increase the offset distance if you want to get more of the intersection. Also filter by street. This tool doesn't select the side streets, it only selects the entire street. So if you type in State Road 54, it's going to select the crashes along State Road 54. This could be a possible upside because maybe you want to see what's happening further away from the intersection before approaching the intersection to see if there's any pattern, trends, or differences. So maybe there's like 20 crashes near Morrisbridge Road on State Road 54, but 5 further down at another intersection. Maybe you want to see what's going on, why there's more crashes or less crashes. Another tool you could do is the custom network tool. This allows you to highlight areas of interest. This tool could be cumbersome for long roadway networks, but it's good for smaller segments, such as intersections and freeway ramps. Lastly, my favorite tool is the geographic boundary tool. This allows you to draw polygons and allows you to select the most crash data. You could select multiple streets or intersections at once to capture large areas. Another cool feature about this tool is you could save your polygon and access it later. So if you want to look at the same segment later on, and if you want to change maybe the date range later on for the crashes, or if you want to look at just pedestrian crashes only within your polygon, you could save it and go back to it later for future analyses. So once you do your queries and you figure out what you want to download for your project, there is a lot of different downloads available to you that will get sent to your email. If you download the crash table CSV file, you'll get a lot of different information, including crash event, driver information, non-motorist information, passenger vehicle and violations. You could download the GIS geolocation geodatabase, which exports the geodatabase into GIS. You could download the FDOT tables, which also outputs a CSV file. This has some additional data points for FDOT roads, pulling information from the roadway characteristics inventory, including FDOT roadway information and FARS information. You could download the PED bike typing, which has more detailed crash information than the crash tables does, because it includes like where the pedestrian is in the roadway, if they're walking along the roadway, crossing the driveway or the alleyway. You could download police crash reports after 60 days when the crash occurred, and you could download 100 at a time. And if you want more than 100, you have to do a new crash data download. You could download README files. README files explain the folder structure, the query parameters selected, and the files selected for download, including the number of records returned by the query in each file. So there's a lot of downloads available for you. Once you select the data options and queries you wish to download, you will get sent an email to download the data. For example, if you select the crash event, email will output a CSV file, and you'll have different folders with the CSV files. The file is available for 3 days, and if you miss downloading the file, you have to put in a new data download request. So this will get sent to your email after you download the data shortly after. Crash report usage limitations. Privacy requirements were implemented starting on March 1st of 2023 under the Florida statute to protect the personal identifying information for those involved in a crash. Crash reports are not available within the 60-day window. The FLHSMV does not provide a redacted version of the crash report, so every crash report contains personal identifying information that is confidential under the statute. So you will not have access to crash reports within 60 days of when the crash occurred. You will also not have access to the crash data downloads, both the CSV and GIS files, within the 60-day window. No information is available about a crash less than 60 days old. You will not see information about the crash type or the location of the crash or any information about the crash. After 60 days, crash data can be shared, but the crash report can never be shared due to this personal identifying information. A lot of you are wondering how to get under 60-day access to get some special permissions to the crash reports and crash data information within 60 days. Local agencies must work directly with the DHS&B and provide a crash report and crash data justification document to obtain a memorandum of understanding for special permissions. A memorandum of understanding is a sworn statement that you will not break the privacy or the confidentiality of the crash data and crash reports. The second bullet here, statute 316.066, shows part of the Florida statute that supports that you are given immediate access after maintaining an MOU. Any agency listed in the statute, including the federal, state, local, governmental agencies, etc., will need to enter into an MOU agreement with the DHS&V to gain that access. The contact information for the DHS&V is the last bullet here with the email and the phone number. The FDOT has signed an MOU with the FLHSMV, and other agencies are not covered under FDOT's agreement and would have to negotiate their own by providing the crash data justification document to the DHS&V. What is their crash data responsibility? Any person or agency who has copies of or access to the data or documents has the same responsibility to maintain its confidentiality as the FLHSMV. So this includes the legal liability for misuse of the data that's shared, and the agency would have to sign an MOU that stipulated that they may not sell the information to a third party and may not share the data with anyone who is not eligible to receive it under the law. So in summary, you cannot share any information related to a crash that is less than 60 days old to those that are not eligible to receive it under the law. And after 60 days, crash data can be shared, but the PII, the personal identifying information, can never be shared. This is very important because this is a third-degree felony if you misuse the data. You could get minimum of a $5,000 fine, and this is on your criminal record forever. So it's a big data responsibility. So here are linked to 2 great and free videos that demonstrate the power of Signal 4. The first link was completed through the Florida LTAP Center on how to get a Signal 4 analytics account, how to sign into the Signal 4 platform. It shows a live demo that demonstrates how you can get relevant safety data for your MPO area and upcoming plans to support MPO safety performance target settings. The second link, the FDOT SSO, State Safety Office, developed a crash data guidance to add clarity and consistency to the use of crash data for safety evaluations. The training covers how to download the crash data using Signal 4 with hands-on demonstrations. So I highly recommend you guys check out both of these links. They have a lot more information of some stuff I covered today, and they're very useful. So if you were wondering if you should use CDMS or Signal 4 Analytics, FDOT decided to limit CDMS users as of November 2023 due to Florida statute privacy restrictions. FDOT is encouraging users to request a Signal 4 account if they do not have one, and if they do have a Signal 4 account, use that as your primary crash data download source. As you saw in this presentation, Signal 4 has a lot of cool tools. It's very powerful, and to use that instead of CDMS. Thank you, and that's the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I have my hand raised. So I'll put it down now. Don't have a question, but I have a confession. So the entire time I've been on this meeting, I've had Signal 4 open because I needed to do a query for one of our board members. And I just love it. I love it. It's so easy to use. It gives such great info. Everything you said, I concur with. I love the geographic boundaries that I can choose sometimes. I didn't have to do that this time. But anyway, it's just a fantastic system. My assignment, which I was going to give to someone else, but I really like playing around in there because it reminds me of what we do. Like, I will open a crash report, and it's kind of heartbreaking when the officer is writing, sorry, I just read this, so I'm just gonna have to say it, but like there was blood in the roadway as it was a fatality report for a cyclist. And it reminds me what their jobs, how tough their jobs are as well. But yeah, so I'm able to kind of just dive into some things that are happening in this particular intersection. So it's just great. And I just want to thank you for that overview. It reminded me there's a few things I haven't used in my queries, so I'll have more information now. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Hey, Lori, great presentation. This is Abigail, Hillsborough County. So when you download the data and you want to plot where the crashes occurred, what is your favorite way to use to display the data for your analysis and for your clients?
Right. Yeah, I download the geodatabase through Signal 4 Analytics. It outputs a geodatabase file, and I put that into the GIS analytics. GIS, sorry. I put it into GIS, and then I plot the longitude, latitude values. I don't believe Signal 4 has a current mapping tool at the moment, but GIS is the way that I always go about mapping the data.
So if a crash location is missing a lat and long, then you have to dive into the traffic crash report to get that, or how do you get that?
Correct. Or if it says like the on street, cross street, and like the distance away from the intersection, you could go on Google Earth or Google Maps to get that longitude, latitude value.
All right, thanks.
I had a quick question. This is Brian
sorry.
from-
I was gonna pile on real quick. Sorry to interrupt. For people who don't have access to GIS, if you don't have that software, you can also open the CSV file in Excel, and Excel has something where you go under the Insert tab and it says 3D Map, And that will create a little map for you in Excel using the latitude and longitude fields in that CSV file. So if you wanted a visual from the Excel file, Excel has that power to do it since you have the latitude and longitude columns. Sorry to interrupt. You can go ahead now.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hey, this is Brian from Temple Terrace. So one of the things that we noticed in Singapore, and I was just curious if during your preparation for the presentation, if you came across an answer. We have a new subdivision that was built maybe in the 2020, and we've noticed that the roads aren't on there, and just kind of wondering when they would update their roadway database so we can see if there's any type of crashes that occurred. Because I guess according to our police department, there has been one since 2020.
Sarah, do you have any information on this? Or Eric?
I'm not sure when that'll get updated. Eric, do you know?
No, that's a really great question. I'll try to reach out to some central office folks and see if we can get an answer to that because I'm not sure. I would imagine if you polygon the area that you're looking at, those the XY coordinates, the lat long should be the same. So you should still capture crashes that were coded as occurring there on the crash report. But as for when the roads themselves are added in, I'm not positive. That's a great question.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about the polygon versus just searching by the roads.
That it for questions?
One last comment, and correct me if I'm wrong. I've been using Signal 4 for a while. With respect to the location, we've noticed that sometimes the location is not very accurate because I think the location is related to where the police car is. So this is something to keep in mind, that it's a very close approximation, but not exact. This is just an important note for anyone who would like to analyze the data and play with it. But it's really very powerful data, and I enjoy playing with it.
I think Jim has a question.
So just building on what she's saying, this is Jim Reiser with Gresham Smith. Since I've been retired from law enforcement, I've been doing a lot of these roadway safety audits and these desktop safety reviews. With respect to the statement about the location not being accurate, that can be true. What I've found is that depending on where you are in US 301, you could have, say, down in Ruskin area, 12th Avenue Southeast, you could have another 12th Avenue in another area of the county. So you just need to be a little more diligent when reviewing that. Sometimes it's helpful to really pull up the satellite images and look at the crash diagram to determine whether you're in the right area. And while it's true that where the officer's at is where they geocode that, they use the geolocate tool to try and locate the vehicle. It should be reasonably close. That's gotten better, so I think you're going to see the accuracy improve. The second point would be, Lori, is there a database to get the roadway IDs? Because I see that the roadway IDs is really the best way to look at these crash corridors. Is there something that FDOT puts out, I'm missing it, or is it a search tool on Signal 4? Because I don't see it anywhere on there.
So there's two options. You could go to the straight line diagram. FDOT has a straight line diagram where they have their roadway ID, milepost. If you don't know it, another thing you could do is you could zoom in on Signal 4 to the map, and then there's an option where you could click it and it will bring up the roadway ID that way as well. But I could put the straight line diagram in the chat for you.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Thanks, Jim, for confirming.
Thank you, Lori, for a great presentation. It's a really useful tool. Okay, I think we can move on to our updates. Ped, bike, motorcycle, safety updates. Anybody up?
I have so much. All right, since no one else is going to go yet, I will start. All right, so we are hosting a couple events during Florida Bike Month, which is March. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Bike with the Temple Terrace Mayor. That is Friday, March 22nd at around 8 o'clock in the morning. Dropping the Facebook link in there. This is the 10th annual ride. We have been doing this since March of 2014, and this is about our 4th or 5th different mayor that we've had a bike ride with in the city of Temple Terrace. So we're very happy that the city has continued to support this event. And so we look forward to you all being there. And then as part of our high injury network, we are doing a partnership with the TPO and the UACDC and FDOT for a slow roll event at the University Area Community Center. And I'm dropping our page on that and our flyer into the chat so you can see more information about this event. This is going to be at the UACDC on Thursday, March 28th. And we are going to have some.
Sorry to interrupt. Oh, no, go ahead. I thought you must be about to say what I've added. Go ahead.
We're going to try to have some dignitaries there and some other fun activities there. And Gina, if you have any other thing else you want to say about it.
Just that it's kind of fun that Secretary Gwynn has agreed to, I think he's going to bike. We have a bunch of other, like you said, directors and things of different agencies that agreed to come out. So it should be fun. Thanks.
And finally, we are doing a evaluation of our traffic signal box wraps, specifically along the Hinn intersections in Hillsborough, but also about any of them in Hillsborough County. So I'm dropping the survey link in there. If you want to take the survey, we encourage you to. If you want to distribute it through the networks without Hillsborough County, that would be awesome as well. So we just appreciate all the feedback on that. And I also have a Facebook ad running about that. And we did tag the TPO, and we can tag the other agencies in here to help spread that word. And I think that is all I have for Bike Ped.
Thank you. Any other updates?
Jim has a question, or his hand's up. I don't know if that's from last time.
No, that's new. I can just briefly touch on the motorcycle safety updates. For those of you that are involved in the coalitions from time to time, they go through a NHTSA audit of the program, the coalition program, and its effectiveness and the things that are done during the implementation plan during the period. We just wrapped up the implementation plan with the Motorcycle Coalition in October, and we're under NHTSA evaluation right now. They're in Tampa. I was actually part of the interview panel. USF Cutter with Ride Smart Florida, a bunch of the law enforcement members on the coalition, different engineering, and so NHTSA is asking some very, very good questions that as it relates to motorcycle safety training, licensing legislation. The micromobility came up, which I know is a hot topic with this group because that seems to be an expanding. Those personal transportation devices are being used. So they'll take all their findings, they'll write some recommendations, things they see where we need support for the coalition. And then what they'll do is we'll look at their recommendations and implement them into the new plan going forward for the next 3 years. And we've also, I noticed some different requests for funding to loosen some of the purse strings in relation to the federal rules on grants were asked. So that's for the motorcycle side. I'm not sure when Ped Bike is going to go through theirs or the other coalitions, but it's just a process to make everybody aware of. So if you're part of those coalitions, you could get asked at some point to offer your opinions on the effectiveness of the program and what you've done for those coalitions. So hopefully we'll get a good report from NHTSA. I think things went well for the motorcycle side, and USF Cutter, being that they're the main administrators for Ride Smart Florida, will take those and move the coalition forward into the next 3 years. So that's all.
Thanks for sharing that info. So this is Abigail, Hillsborough County. So one of the objectives of Hillsborough County is we want to have shovel-ready projects for all of our safety programs, and specifically our pedestrian and bicycle programs. We currently have over 100 pedestrian projects that we have studied the feasibility, right? And this year we updated our pedestrian corridor safety methodology. What does that mean? It means how we evaluate the unincorporated road for pedestrian access and safety. So we updated that recently, and now we're going to be identifying more projects to do for ped safety. So that's on tap for this year, is doing project development for pedestrian safety corridors. So we want to add to those over 100 projects in this program. We want to get more shovel ready. So we'll be sharing that with you guys. The other thing is we are rolling through with doing feasibility studies. So we have Sheldon and Waters. We have, nearly 10 corridors that we're looking at this year. So those are a little bit further along because they've been identified due to pedestrian safety needs. And now we're identifying improvements along these corridors. And it's great because, I see I don't know if City of Tampa is still on here, but they're doing great work with their speed management projects. And so we want to also do some speed management. We're on these pedestrian corridors, right? Because that's part of access. So it looks like reducing the speeds as well as identifying pedestrian mid-block locations and putting some lane narrowing, right? So that we're looking at these type of treatments, and we're trying to be more proactive, like ground-mounted ped signals or ground-mounted hawks. We've seen those in Sarasota. They have ground-mounted pedestrian hybrid beacons or hawks, right? So we want to be very good stewards of our funding and make sure we can do as much with the funding that we do have. So that look for great ped projects coming up. We are also on our bicycle network. We are also doing project development for 2 locations to be determined. So similar to all of our safety programs, we have a methodology for the bicycle safety and network where we've identified corridors that have high risk, moderate, and low for bicycling. So we will be identifying 2 locations to go into project development to identify ways to improve bicycle safety and access there. And like the City of Tampa talked about their grant, so our grant is 80 to 90% focused on vulnerable users. I think there's only 2 or 3 Vision Zero corridors on there, which does include vulnerable users. But the rest of the projects are exclusively either safe access to transit, safe routes to school, or bike and ped projects. So awesomeness. I'm glad that, Hillsborough County, the number 2 fatal and severe crash type is ped and bike, even though they represent less than 1% of the mode of travel, right? So that's great news that we're addressing that. And I think that's what I got for ped and bike. Thanks.
If nobody has anything else, we'll move on to education. And I will start off there. The Hillsborough County Council PTSA is holding a health event on April 20th from 10 to 1 at Brandon High School. This will be targeting families with students of all K through 12 students. They will have a variety of different health activities there, including some bike helmet fittings and bike safety education. If any of you are interested in having a table there or participating in some way and are not already hooked up with this event, you can reach out to me and I will connect you to them. Anybody else on education?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I got some stuff for education. So Jennifer with Nations Traffic Safety School, a couple of things that we've been noticing and been talking with Matt about, especially coming out of Hillsborough County, is about 60% of the DUIs are being downgraded to reckless driving, which is a pretty common thing. But our concern was that they're not being adjudicated for the reckless driving. So they're not getting points. That is one of the criminal traffics that do actually assess points. So that's something that we're looking at. In addition to technically by statute, they are supposed to take the minimum 4-hour basic driver improvement class for the reckless driving. But we understand that they usually go through all of the DUI stuff. So just having better conversations regarding that kind of scenario, because again, it seems like it's a really high amount coming out of Hillsborough County. Also seeing, I'm sure police are equally, frustrated when they do their job on the roads and then they go into court, and we're seeing one specific, so I'm not sure if he's a judge or a hearing officer, but about 1,300 dismissed tickets in Hillsborough County. So again, we're trying to address from the court area with education, as well as, habits and, if they're being dismissed, then are they really going to have a habit change and behavior change? So some of the things we're looking at. Also, big thing with the Teen Safe Driving Coalition, the belt campaign that they were trying to do for this year is actually being postponed slightly into the beginning of next school year for a couple of different reasons. So that was something that they're trying to do this school year, but is not going to battle the belts. I couldn't think of the program name for some reason. But I know Tampa already does that with Tampa General. So if that's something that maybe we need to connect with and see if how we can look at that for next year to, give extra effort to, that would be fantastic. And as well as I just sent an email off to the PTA president for Hillsborough County, as well as I guess she is the head at district for driver's education. But if anybody has any connections with the school system, Florida Teen Safe Driving Coalition is trying to get a speaker into the schools. So we have a week of awareness that we do for different counties that are high need, and the Bay Area in general, but Hillsborough County being the higher end, and getting some speakers into the high schools. And this particular speaker is talking regarding street racing. And so I have plenty of information for anybody that wants to pass that on. I think Eric may have even put something out to the group, but just really emphasizing, I just looked this morning at the sign up and no one from Hillsborough County high schools have signed up for it. And it is March 18th through the 22nd. So really trying to get Hillsborough schools to participate in that. So if you have any questions, welcome to answer them. And that's it for me.
I would say the feedback that I've gotten about the schools and the speaker is that that's heading into a difficult time of year. They're just coming back from spring break and getting started on a new quarter. So they're finding it difficult to schedule it. So that's just what I have heard from the schools that I've contacted about that speaker.
Yeah, I talked to a principal and they just said that they had to go through district because actually a former teacher of mine is a principal at a high school. So I reached out to him directly. So that was his biggest issue, was that it wasn't coming from district or through PTA. So I did, like I said, I reached out to the person he gave me contact to, but I'm not sure if there was anybody else that we could connect with. And I totally get it. I mean, I have teenagers and I totally understand that coming out of spring break to the end of the school year. I know at our school, I don't think we have one regular day in high school because everything's testing and all the crazy. So I get it. But the question is, long-term success, for these kiddos, and, driving safety is, I would think, just as important. So it's just getting to the right people.
Well, I would agree with you, but, this is your audience, so. Anybody else in education? Okay, if we could look into enforcement and crash statistics, anything to share?
This is Sergeant White with the Tampa Police Department. And I'm mostly going to focus on what we're doing for DUI because I'm kind of covering for them. But to date, we're at, not to date, for January, we have 160 DUI arrests, which is up quite a bit from last year. We have 8 fatal crashes for the month of January alone. Of those, at least 4 are alcohol related. I know the traffic homicide unit is waiting on toxicology for some of the other ones. We continue to do our education in the schools. We've also done education events at Amelia Arena for the when they had their first responder night. We did a presentation. We do a presentation every year at the Academy of Holy Names that coincides with Gasparilla for all the sophomores, juniors, and seniors around Gasparilla time and also around prom time for them. We have upcoming, continue to do using our grant officers for education in the schools. We'll continue doing that through the school year. And we coming up on March 8th, coinciding with the 3-year anniversary of MPO Matson's death. For those of you who don't know, he was killed by a wrong way drunk driver on I-275 3 years ago. We will be holding we're doing a DUI operation on that particular night in remembrance of him. And we also have Walk Like Mad coming up on the 22nd, which will have a large showing out there for the Tampa Police Department. And that's all I have, unless anybody has questions. And our fatalities apparently don't want to slow down. Jim Snell could probably touch more on them, but I know we've had several already this month, including last night.
Yeah, just piggybacking on what Mike said, we're 9 fatals higher this time than last year, and we're up significantly in vehicle versus pedestrian crashes.
I have the fatal crash maps to go over. So
I
here's
just want
the.
to throw in
oh,
real
sorry.
quick that we our ELEE enforcement period is done. I'm posting these citations and warnings just for Hillsborough County in the chat. These are from May 1st through January 6th. So, and just on state roads. So it was a very successful program and we look forward to our upcoming ceremony.
Question for law enforcement. I think it's probably maybe for the sheriff's department. If there's anyone or anyone who knows the answer to this, I really wanted to see if we could help where the locations of the speed light cameras around schools are being chosen. I don't know anything about how this is done, but I do have a lot of data for where those might be best placed in the future or currently. I just don't even really know how many are out there, if any, and if those roadways are being chosen. Does anyone know who I can talk to if they're not on here?
I believe it would be the Hillsborough County, so Bob would probably know that information for you. I do know there's supposed to be one at Ruskin Elementary, and there's supposed to be one at Gibsonton Elementary, but those are the only 2 I know of.
I'll talk. So you mean Bob Campbell, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give Bob a.
If Bob doesn't have that information, try Mike Flick.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Gina, there was a list of current ones released in the newspapers for both Hillsborough County and Tampa, the ones that have been selected. I don't think any of the cameras are operational yet.
I just would love to know how they're selecting them. I mean, I hope it's based on speed concerns in front of schools, because some schools are, and maybe in a little more local sort of area where their speeding might not be as significant as others. So anyway, I'd love to take a look at that list. Oh, it looks like maybe Jim has his hand up.
So this came up actually at Ped Bike, and it's been ongoing talk. They're not operational yet. There's been one jurisdiction that had it operational as an advisory, and that was out in Lake County in Eustis. I think they finally got it going where it's only going to issue tickets. But you know, even if you come up with a location that says, okay, we want it in this school, we've had speeding complaints, it still has got to be substantiated by a traffic study. So I know that they passed the statute, but I think I cautioned this group before, it's going to take some time to get these up and running, because you have to do requests for proposals, you have to do right-of-way access, you have to look at utility access for these cameras. And I mean, there's just a multitude of factors go into it. I know that all the local jurisdictions that I'm familiar with that are going to implement this are working on it. And the other thing, the law enforcement effectively is going to manage the implementation of these programs, while the different mobility and public works departments will be involved. It's going to come down to the law enforcement agency, because we have to issue, basically the issuance of any violations have to come through the police department. So, and again, there's more MOU, so it's coming, I assure you. And if a location is there and we can't put it in, it'll be a reason why we can't put it in.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jim. That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll discuss the fatal crash maps for Hillsborough County. From January 1st to December 14th of 2023, there have been 196 fatal crashes. At the last CTST meeting we had from January 1st to November 11th, there were 178 fatal crashes. So there's been 19 new fatal crashes since last meeting. One of them was removed due to being a non-traffic fatality. One was a sideswipe fatal crash, 3 bicycle, 2 run off the road, 4 left turn, and 7 pedestrian fatal crashes since last month. 14 of the 19 new fatal crashes were during dark conditions. 14 of the 19 were not at an intersection, and 12 of the 19 were in rural areas. So again, currently there have been 196 fatal crashes. In the same time period in 2022, there were 208 fatal crashes. So we are down by 12 fatal crashes, same time frame. And you could see the pie chart. It's broken down by jurisdiction. And then you have your road user by jurisdiction. So you could see that state roads make up over 50% of the fatal crashes within Hillsborough County.
Okay, can we move along to engineering? Nothing? No one's doing any engineering?
Oh, that's my cue. So in Abigail, Hillsborough County, we are, let's see what great things I want to share with you guys. So I wanted to share that the way we approach our roadway safety is we develop toolboxes, and those are the building blocks of safety improvements. So we're continuing, we've identified the top 150 locations for lane departure. Lane departure is the number 3 fatal and severe crash type in Hillsborough County. So we do have a program addressing those safety needs. We have a toolbox. We have, and I would love to share with the cities, if they're interested, how to use this tool that we are finalizing. But this toolbox, we basically put in, you do need a context class, because that's what our speed reductions are based on, is how do we meet our target speed from our posted speed today. But we put in our context class and crashes and other information, and then using the toolbox we can select treatments to put in the road design or a retrofit. to reduce the speed. So it has things like raised crosswalks, driver feedback sign, reduce corner radius, and blank out signs. So when peds push the ped button to cross the street, the sign indicating no right turn on red would be actuated, would turn on only in that condition. So, and we recently were, the number one, you say traffic violation in Hillsborough County is failure to yield right of way, right? None of us on the call have seen that happen, I'm sure. So we noticed that this is especially concerning in school walking routes. So we recently implemented an LPI over 10 seconds to get in a school area so that the students could cross safely. So we are looking at more aggressive treatments to make sure our vulnerable users are seen and protected out there. So we have that going on with engineering. We also ranked our unsignalized intersections. So now we know where the top 100 locations are. So now we can, the whole point of this is to do systemic treatments. What does that mean? Well, we look at our network, we study it in depthly, and then we know what are the risk factors. So the risk factor is in a lot of cases the posted speed on that road, and then what is the context class of that road. So then we're able to say, well, every road that has this condition, the context class and the posted speed and crash types, for example, we would go out and put extended center line across the intersection, for example, or raised pavement markers or a marked crosswalk, right? So we are super excited that we have the funding with the grant and potential funding in the next couple months to do these great programs, or excuse me, projects that we are working on. So is there any questions, or hit me up later, anybody in the, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, and we can definitely share those tools.
Engineering. This is Lema with Hillsborough County. I just have a note to share with you all. We're still working on linking the two data sets of crash data from law enforcement and fire rescue to specifically analyze crash data from the perspective of fire rescue response time. Once we have an update, hopefully in the future CTST meetings, I'm going to share with you where we are. Thank you.
Okay, can we move on to school transportation?
I don't have any updates at this time. Did you hear me, Emily?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Emily, thank you for this
Yes.
morning. That was awesome. What else have you been up to? Because I don't know if you do that walk to school on other days or other locations, right?
Yes, I got Gina out joining Sidewalk Stompers for Walk to School Wednesday at one of our partner schools this morning. We have 18 active programs, and I guess that maybe I would update all of you. For the majority of our programs, we are seeing a substantial increase in the number of students participating. We track that data over time. That's something I've certainly learned from this group is the value of keeping track of that data. So we count the number of students participating, and we can see the change over the course of the year. Most of our programs are weekly programs, a couple that are monthly. But as we are now, we've been around for 5 years, so now some of our schools, we're seeing data over the course of 3 to 5 years. And it seems to be working that if you offer the students incentives and regular programs and regular participation, that they respond, and we are getting more students walking or biking. And as some of you work on putting in some great Safe Routes to School treatments, we are thinking this is an additional safety measure because you have a larger group of students arriving at school together rather than children walking on their own. So that's our sidewalks numbers update. I think, was there any other safe routes to school updates from the county? I know you guys have been doing a lot of great work there.
Yeah, so we have started project development for 5 schools: Leonard, Thompson, Mann, Sifner, and Gunta. So we are studying the student walking routes. We will, for where the students are walking, and then we'll identify necessary improvements like new sidewalk, new crosswalks, flashing beacons, speed management treatments on these roadways. We will, in March or in April, start meeting with our project advisory committee. Some of those participants are on the meeting, but I would like to know if these schools have, if there's any plans for camera speed enforcement in these schools. So who would I talk to about that? We want to be sure to capture that in our project development, like to enhance that treatment, to support it with engineering. Is there a list of schools where these cameras are going in?
I saw a list that was published in the newspaper. I obviously don't know where the reporter got that information. I can forward you that article.
Okay.
Okay, when you must have like jumped out, but Jim Reiser was telling me, all of us, about the details that go into deciding whether it's right of way and lots of information. But actually, Bob in your team seems to be the person that might be the best to ask about, Bob or Mike Flick, about where those are going to be. But yeah, Emily has seen a list published somewhere, and it takes a little bit more investigation and determining where, if those are suitable sites and if they will move forward. Hope I summarized that right, Jim.
All right. And
you did. I would contact actually the law enforcement agency in that jurisdiction and see who's working on that, and they'll probably have a list. And then I know City of Tampa Mobility, I think they released 13 that we would like to implement, but it was just a matter of going through the RFP process, doing the traffic studies and things attached to it. I don't know, I'm sure engineering will have an input, but I don't know what they're going to need from you. But I mean, it would be pretty much whatever vendor they choose is going to support a lot of that. And I think you would have a say in where those cameras need to be placed. But like I said, you need to contact your individual development department, law enforcement. They can probably give you an idea where they're going if you have those relationships.
I had been told at one point they were starting with Ruskin Elementary and Gibsonton Elementary, and the revenue from those two schools would be what would put them into the other schools.
okay, great. Yeah, I'll definitely follow up on that. And then we are completing design for Mort Elementary School. So that is a wayfinding project where to guide the students from Mort Elementary School to the park for after school activities. And we want to identify some new treatments there too, like sidewalk markings, maybe indicating how many steps they got to their destination, or so something fun that keeps the students safe as they're walking and alert. That's what I got, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you. HSIP updates.
Hey, good morning again. First, I wanted to thank everyone for participating in the HSIP program, submitting applications. It's going very well. The new portal is working very well. Right now, we're working with Hillsborough County and Plant City on a request for 4 LED stop signs. I don't know if Fred is still online. Fred, are you there? I'm sure we're going to hear a presentation on that pretty soon, if not today, next week. Just wanted to remind everyone that there is a requirement of making a presentation at the CTST meeting and attending the CTST meeting for the approval of the HSIP applications. That's all I have today. Thank you again.
Thank you. Do we have any Vision Zero updates?
I can share it. Well, Lisa is with the TPL Silva is the project manager. They're doing, they're studying Sly and Waters for project feasibility and alternatives. So recently on Waters, the county is also studying it for improved safety improvement. So we will be doing a resurfacing on Waters Ave. I can get those limits for you within the city boundary, and we are awaiting the city's concurrence if they would like to do a lane repurposing. So that would reduce the roadway from 4-lane undivided to 2 lanes with a 2-way left turn lane and on-street bicycle facilities. So we are working with the city to support them in the safety project that they would like to see there on West Waters between Armenia and Nebraska. So that's great news. The other thing is we have 78th Street, good old 78th Street. We are working on that. We plan to construct improvements this quarter. So that's what we're still working on. We have the completed quick implementation design, which is delineators and paint, and delineated islands and such. And it's a great project because we have the community coming out and they're going to paint the locations to bring visibility and to reinforce community identity and beautification. So that's also going on, where we want to incorporate more color safely, right? And that supports community beautification and community participation and community identity. So look for more of that in our projects.
Thanks, Abigail. I don't have an
Abigail,
you said what I would have
sorry.
added, so thank you. That's it for me, too.
Abigail, did you have a date for when you're doing the 78th Street community painting?
Well, there is, I will share the link with the group. So there's a PM in the office that's managing that. So I know that it's online, so I'll definitely get that link for us.
I think that covers our updates. Is there any old business? New business? Okay, I think I will go ahead and call the meeting adjourned. Thank you for the great presentations today. It was Gina's waving her hand.
Sorry, I forgot. I'm like completely slipping. If you all have an opportunity, please go on access2050.org and complete our survey for the long range transportation plan. We really need to hear from everybody on prioritizing projects and what funding we should use in the future over the next 20 or so years. Anyway, Access 2050, I'll put it in here. And I neglected to tell you because I had to look up who these people were, but we have tickets to Bad Bunny, tickets to Kane Brown, a Bucks game for 2 or 4 people. I can't remember that. It's all on there. So if you do fill out the survey, you get entered for some really cool prizes. So thank you. Now that's it.
Okay, well then we'll adjourn to go explain to Gina what Bad Bunny is. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Wednesday.
Thank